it's a bad
practice. Well, I think even with his idea of tracing isn't the same as everybody else's.
No, exactly.
Idea
No. His idea of tracing, I would imagine, was quite different to what currently passes for tracing. Yes.
I have hit the go live button. So
okay. There we go.
We are live. Welcome,
tracing.
Everybody, come on in. We are discussing tracing. We're going to look at
within reason.
We're going to look at the works today of Wally Wood. As soon as I get my camera set up here, and we hope you have a great time, as I'm sure we will, because all of this stuff is incredible.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to run the opening and then we'll get underway. Come on in, everybody. Have a seat. We are Comics by Night for Friday, the 25th of November. And here is our opening, I think. Where is it? Where is our opening? There's our opening.
What was that? This is not a charade. We need total concentration. Now, once again, this time, with theory.
Oh, I really wanted to have everything arranged before we got back up from that open. Just to save everyone from hearing incredibly large books hitting the floor and everyone wincing in pain.
That's the sound of stuff getting done, right?
Yeah. That's a sacred sound.
Stuff getting done.
A sacred sound.
All right, let's see how this works. Famous last words. Popping up the camera.
Ooh, it's weird and it's science.
And right off the bat, you know it's going to be good. There you
go. Yeah.
This is the Weird Science volumes from EC, the Russ Cockrum collection. These were shot directly off of the originals from the vault of Bill Gaines before they all went up for auction. I love these sets. If you get to see them at a show, definitely, if you're a big fan of comics like I am, you're definitely going to want them in your collection. They are such a great set. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Need to put that main screen so that we can see it.
Absolutely. Excuse my shaky camera. I do have it on a tripod, though.
That's it. Oh, that's it. Oh, it's an earthquake.
No, it's gone. Just so
now that is
stuff it can't contain.
We don't have them in Michigan
effect.
very often, folks, but there they are.
None of this CGI rubbish.
Absolutely none. Also, another great cover. These covers were recolored by Marie Severin, who colored them the first time through.
Gorgeous.
All of the books are phenomenal. I don't think you can find them online for under the box sets. I think are $1,600 to $1,000 a set.
That's a lot of money.
They were printed back in. He said slipping. I'll just leave that there because that's such a great cover. I bought them as a pre-publication price. I believe this set was $45 for me.
Oh. I hate you.
And I've just been around for that long, Russ.
45 bucks.
Golly.
It was a pre-publication price. Russ Cockrum come out and I think it was Comics Buyer's Guide and said, hey, I'm going to do this. Do you want it? I'm going to offer it for a pre-publication price for $45. And I don't see a publication date on them, but they come in a beautiful slipcase.
Oh,
That is
as
gorgeous.
Well. Each title, he went through and shot each title, and it took him years. I would say about 5 or 6 years to do the entire EC run. And luckily, Gaines kept all of the original artwork in a vault for many, many decades. Got a hold of Russ. I believe this is mid 70s, maybe late 70s. And not to totally boast or nothing. Glenn's not here. The first volume.
Oh man!
Has a signature by Al Feldstein in it.
Oh, cool.
Written to me, madly yours.
Mad.
Caught him at a show. Was so lucky to do so. Wood, unfortunately, I never got a chance to meet in person. He passed when I was young. I'm not sure exactly the time on that. If you want to look him up on Wikipedia, see, we could get a definite birth and death date. It was a big tragedy in comics when he did pass. He ended up taking his own life.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The story is, and it might not be true, was that he was losing his vision.
Oh.
And they have assumed that he woke up one morning unable to see because his room was in a little bit of disarray until he was able to find his pistol.
Oh, he had it ready.
But you want to talk about a talent, a great talent in comics. He started a little before the EC books, I believe. He was doing some work outside of EC before Gaines found him. And Gaines had an incredible talent of finding the best talent out there, which continued well into his handling Mad magazine, or running Mad magazine. Mad actually started as an EC comic. We'll look at those here in a minute because Wally Wood was a very big contributor to that as well. Great sense of humor. Incredible sense of humor. This is volume 2 of the Weird Science set. I'm just going to run to the first Wood story I see. This is Jack Kamen here.
Yeah, he passed in 1981.
1981.
Yeah, November 2nd.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware of him then, to be honest.
Yeah. And a lot of people now aren't aware of him either. I mean, unless you're a big comic fan.
Yeah.
I think the most famous thing Wood is known for is having gotten fed up with trying to draw Daredevil's red and yellow costume and just deciding, hey, Stan, I'm just going to make him red, all right? It's just going to be...
No, really?
Yeah.
I think it's like, what was it, the 9 panels that you could always go to?
He ended up inking a lot in his later years because he could do it quickly and make a good amount of money from it. This is the story, The Aliens. Here, this is Wood.
Yeah.
If you look close enough down here in the corner, it is signed Woody.
So are they both Wood, both those pages?
No, just this page.
I was about to say that one on the left is a bit
sliding. That's what it is. It's sliding. Anyway, that story looks like Kurtzman, to tell you the truth. It really does. And Kurtzman didn't do a whole lot of weird science work. He
quite
very
cartoony.
Quickly, pardon?
It's quite cartoony in the way the faces are done, and yet it's rendered beautifully.
Yes,
it's a really weird mix of style. It's lovely.
Let me go through here and check. I'm pretty sure if
it kind of has that boxy look, like they were using like the Loomis method. Kind of.
I would say this is all Kurtzman here.
Look at that! Look at that car at the start. It's just semi-silhouette.
No need for a background.
No,
just
and the guy next to it, just brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And even the bottom 3 panels
Yeah.
here, no background, just drawing.
No, and the way he filled the panel with the blacks, that's impressive.
Yep. Kurtzman is a genius anyway.
Mm.
We could do a whole nother book on Kurtzman, or a whole nother episode on Kurtzman. I have his Good Man Beaver book that he did. He did a Good Man Beaver strip that was a parody strip, I believe, ran in Playboy.
Was sorry, I'm going to just interject with a little
anytime
with a little question about American culture
mm-hmm.
and the name Beaver.
The name what?
The name Beaver.
Beaver.
Is the first time I came across the idea of somebody using the word beaver was surprisingly not at school, but was later on when I heard when I watched Scrooged, and there's a fake show at the start of it, and the mother and the son are talking, and they go, "Where's your dad today?" He says, "Oh, father loves a beaver." And I just, I kind of looked at that because contrary to what I've just said, I'd come across the word when I was younger and kind of like didn't kind of understand why this word was being used in the way that it was. And then you said that there was somebody called Beaver as well. So is Beaver a common name? Is it a thing that happens in America?
Well, not at all. No.
Right. Okay.
No.
That was just the nickname of a kid on a TV show,
right,
years ago, and then of course, now beavers, chop wood, so it's so it's all.
It means multiple things. I understand,
yeah,
and that's kind of why it kind of stood out to me. I was like, "What the hell is this?"
Well, welcome to the Americanized English language. Hang on.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry. Diversion over. Let's get.
Well, no. What Leave It to Beaver was a classic, sitcom.
Leave It to Beaver, and
yeah,
Beaver
he wasn't really
name.
Dennis the Menace, but kind of like an anti-Dennis the Menace. He was.
I see. Okay.
Black and white. I can't remember the guy's name that played Beaver.
Which was why Father Loves Beaver was like a natural thing to say at the same time as being funny. Right. Okay. I get it. It took me 30 years to work out exactly the double meaning behind that.
Yeah, double entendre there.
and I know quite a bit about Americana and American programs in the 50s, 60s and stuff. I know if I'm well versed in it, shall we say? But that one struck me. I'm like, well, where does that come from? How do I source that one?
Well, up here in Michigan, we had a incredible amount of beavers,
right,
back in the 1800s, early 1800s, and they were all trapped out for top hats. Mostly what went over to the colonies. There's a little bit more light. Hopefully, it's not going to detract from or too much glare. But we really want to be able to see this stuff. But yeah, the lumbering trade here in Michigan was amazing and our main source of income for many years. And they literally lumbered the state from the southern state line all the way up through the Upper Peninsula. Lumbering was a major trade here through the 1800s. One of the first uses for disposable income. A lot of the cities, excuse my chair, a lot of the cities here in Michigan were lumbering towns.
I think you knocked your tripod. There you go.
There we go.
That panel right there where you have your finger with I don't know if that's a policeman or a gas station attendant.
Right here?
Where he has, no, the other page. Where he's
over here?
The one that's on the phone right there. Yeah, all those wrinkles. Remember I was saying last Sunday we were talking about Crumb. I was saying Crumb's brother. When you look at his art, he had a lot of those wrinkles. And I bet you that was inspired by this type of art by Kurtzman and everything. Well, that's almost exactly.
These comics were very popular when they were out. They sold in the millions. And much to the ire of a lot of the other mainstream publishers. Because Gaines was kind of a what would you call him? Provocateur. I guess you would say.
Completely different than his father.
All right, that's perfect. You now need to cement your tripod to the floor.
All right.
That's perfect.
I just lowered the front arms a little bit. Sorry, everybody. There's no earthquake. It's just getting things set here.
Getting a really good view of that book now.
Yeah. And again,
that's a fair size book as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's like magazine dimension.
I don't want to try to. Oh, here I got a magazine size book right here.
Oh, it's getting on. Yeah, it's getting on for A3, isn't it?
It's getting a little bigger than that.
It's getting on for 11 by 15.
Yeah. And like I said, these were also shot right off of the originals, so you're not going to get. Sometimes you actually see brush strokes on and the difference in inking, especially on some of the horror books when you get Ghastly Graham Ingalls inking.
Yeah,
on it, it's just amazing. Kurtzman, though, on the other hand, is straight cartoonist, like you said, very much so. But here is
that
wood.
panel right there.
This is from the second volume. I should probably try to look through the first. Look at that wrecked car that Kurtzman did. Just amazing.
I'm just transfixed on that face on the bottom right by Wood.
Right here. Yeah.
Look at the lighting in that. That's what I'm stretching for at the moment is good lighting.
The thing with the ECs, the uniqueness of them is that they were all written before the artist saw the pages.
Mm-hmm.
They would write and letter the original panels and ship them to the artist.
Right.
And the artist would then draw around the lettering.
Huh.
And then send the completed art back.
Sometimes I can see that as being helpful, actually.
Well, I think if you're told, I mean, we all like as artists to have freedom.
Yeah.
But if you're specifically told, this is what you're going to put in this panel, there is a certain amount of, okay, that's my job, I'm going to get on with it. And you have no choice. So there's no soul searching as to, did I do that panel right? Well, you just get on and do it. So I can understand how, in some ways, it might have made life a little easier. But I mean, if he's been told, like here, if Wally Wood has been told exactly what to put in the panels, then look at just how damn good each panel is.
Yeah.
And the variation he's got in angles and stuff, even if he's being told exactly what to do.
Yeah.
It's masterful.
We seeing that all right? Do I need to change the light a little?
No, the light's good.
Seems a little dark over on the far side, but anyway.
Oh no, you can see it though. Look, I mean, that's the thing about that black and white though, is the stark contrast where you can really see.
It zings, doesn't it? Zings, and the blacks are so deep. I mean, and I know you can say, "Oh, well, that's all down to ink and whatever." I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the placement, the spotting. I'm talking about it. There's so much depth to the way that he's layered the blacks in the panels.
Well, growing up, I was always a huge Marvel fan.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of discussions. I did 2 years of trade school at the what they call a skill center here, learning commercial art, learned how to use Zipatone, learned how to use amberlith, rubylith and amberlith separations for mechanical separations long before there were computers. And I always had an argument with the guys that were into comics because one student, his dad had a whole set of EC comics that he read.
Right.
And he was in love with EC. And of course, I was a big Marvelite. So we had a constant argument until these volumes started coming up for sale. And I started buying them and looking at them and just in awe of the artwork, in awe of the artists that were part of the EC group.
I mean, this is just incredible work. I mean, you look around, you just look around the panels. I mean, top left, before you go, the cloak, the hanging. That jumps out. Then you go down to the next line and you look to the right of the two figures popping out, and the legs on that guy, just everything about the way he's standing, And then
Yeah.
just in general, all
You
this
can see
anatomy.
the weight right there.
Yeah,
on that,
see the
on
weight
that
right
leg.
there.
Yeah.
And then all the anatomy that's going on right the way through
Yeah.
to the next page. It's like
Yep.
just wow. And that face you've got your finger on now, bottom left of the right hand page.
Mhm.
The guy with the helmet, bottom left of the right hand
Right.
page.
On the other side.
There.
Yeah.
That
They-
profile there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just jumps out at me as well. There's so many bits on there that you go, oh wow.
And again, you look at this face right here. That's
Mm.
Flash Gordon, without
Yeah,
a doubt.
yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, masterfully turned that 3/4. That is probably, I find that pose there on the Flash Gordon character,
Hmm.
that's the hardest thing to draw on a person's face, apart from looking up under the chin, which
Yeah.
lots of artists have real problems with. And
We
those
almost-
two, putting
almost
an
read
eye,
that.
putting an eye to the front of the profile, your brain doesn't want to do it, but it's got to be done because that's the angle, that's what you see.
Mhm.
And that top one as well, he's got it even more acute on the top panel
Right here.
there. Yeah,
More of a
just,
turn. Yeah, you're
yeah.
seeing the back of the ear here.
just that, and knowing where to pop the ear and where
Yeah.
how the jawline comes down from it. It's
Mm-hmm.
that's hard stuff. And obviously he did it. It was elegant and you know he didn't
Masterful. Yeah.
masterful. Yeah, just no stress in that. You can see it in the lines just how good it is.
But you see, and what you notice though is it's not flat. It's almost curved around.
Yeah.
Like he kept in mind the other side of the face, even though you don't see it. He kind of keeps it around wraps.
Yeah, no, brilliant stuff.
You're not quite dealing with Buscema dynamics.
No.
Like last episode, we were talking about how every character was at an ankle.
But then
Here,
if
these
he's been
characters are
told
pretty
exactly
straight on, yeah,
if he's been told exactly what to put in each panel at that moment in time, that would have made it harder to do that. I know you could say, "Oh, I'll just change the angle," but if they're putting on the word balloons,
Yeah.
then you can't do that, can you? You can only do so much.
I would think the balloons were already there as well as the lettering.
That's what I'm saying. If it's already there, then you know basically if you look at the left hand page, second tier down left hand panel, so panel 3, that one on the left,
All the way up
on the
the
left.
other side.
So that's it, panel 3, yeah. So that panel, if you imagine that's been briefed in, the two of them are leaning down, looking over something on the floor. One of them's pouring at it. This guy's on the left, this guy's on the right, as per the lettering. Okay, draw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you then say, all right, I'm going to put a really wicked angle in here and I'm going to have them looking up from a worm's eye view from what they're examining. No, it doesn't work like that because you've already been told exactly what you need to put in there.
Mhm.
So for him to produce, for Wally Wood to produce artwork of this quality, of the amount of dynamics that he actually has in it, okay, bearing in mind that he was told exactly what to put in every panel and all the lettering was down, it's just stunning, absolutely stunning.
Oh.
Inside of that shit.
Flash
That
up
is-
wood here. Look at that angle.
That is Flash Gordon there, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the ship top left as well.
No.
But again, it's like it's very, very, very likely that whoever's briefed him has said, right, the rocket's taken off, and he's put those birds in. He's done
Yep.
something to it, to make it interesting.
Yep. Just wait until we get to the mad material.
Mm.
You think he's detailed here? It's just the mad material is just incredible.
That bottom.
I mean, this is
middle-
phenomenal stuff.
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but look at
That
that
bottom
the shading
bottom
here.
panel, bottom middle panel on the left hand page. So yeah, that one is that
That-
some wash in there in the clouds.
I believe that is duo shade.
Oh, right. I can't see properly on the camera. Right.
That was probably pasted in because there's two definite different shades.
Yeah.
Dual shade, for those that aren't aware of, is a specific board. He probably planted a piece of board, dual shade board, right there because the dual shade is not cheap. And let me see if I can see there could be a dividing line anywhere right in here, or just slightly above. I'm not sure. Could have been cut out. I mean, the tails here on the balloon. Dual shade board has two sets of lines already imprinted in it in light blue. And a special chemical washes through and gives you the lighter shade. and then a harsher version of that chemical wash through and give you a darker shade, which is this shade combined with another shade. Sometimes it's patterned, sometimes it just looks like an ink wash, like this looks. But you can see it. I can see it in motion here. And the real trick with Duo Shade isn't the fact that you were using it. It's the fact that you had the opportunity to use it and you knew when to stop using it in order to get the effect that he's got here. And you'll see a lot more shading effects with wood as we go along, because he was a master of Zipatone, a master of Duo Shade.
That's
and
what we spoke about that last week, especially with people like Kevin O'Neill, who knew how that it was Lectra tone then rather than Duo Shade. But it's the same thing, sort of laying down mechanical tints.
Right.
And how I think Kevin O'Neill was a master of using mechanical tints. Obviously, Bolland used some of them as well. And it's knowing when to stop.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes there's a wonderful tool. There's like a dot Zipatone tool in Paint in Paint Studio, Clip Paint Studio, and it's so easy for people to overuse it because it's so easy to use, because it's so easy to lay down, and the what looks great in these examples is where they know where to stop.
Exactly.
Look at
here's
that,
the first page of a story called Probers that Wood did.
Giggity.
And remember, again, these people were on hard deadlines, and granted the issues were bi-monthly.
That right hand page, I mean, bearing in mind we're talking about
all of that.
the current art, and that some of it I think is trying to be too realistic. Beautiful art, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful, but I think for comics it's trying to be too realistic.
Yep.
But then on top of that, you do get artists that I think hit things just right. Okay. And then there are other artists that seem to draw, like, for whatever reason, it might be because of pay or time or whatever, they seem to draw pamphlets. They look like the things you get in aircraft, where it's telling you how to put your seatbelt on. And so you've got this wide range of different art at the moment. But you could put that in a book right now and nobody would know it was drawn 50 years ago.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
There is something absolutely timeless about that page on the right hand side. The pages on the left, okay, that's definitely got something of the day about it.
That's
Jack
Heyman there.
I know that's somebody else, but you can see that has been drawn.
Just the car itself.
Just the car, and I'm sorry, the boobs. Okay. Whether the boobs were going to be silly 90s round boobs or proper woman's boobs, okay, small or large, doesn't matter. The way they're drawn there is very much the fashion of that period of time. Okay, so you can just and the haircut, of course, as well. It's very obvious. So and right the way down to the clothes on the guy running on the top left hand side. It's all got either it was drawn 50 years ago or somebody's trying to make it look like that. But the page on the right,
70
so 70 years ago, good Lord. but the page on the right is timeless.
Yes.
I see that.
Not just that, but look at the use of blacks.
Yes.
Look at the contrast. The guy in front stands out so much that there's
so
much open space there.
It may be timeless because the guy on the right is bald. I don't know.
Maybe.
But this and the clothes that they're wearing are fairly utilitarian. So they don't speak of a style or a fashion.
Right.
The only giveaway would maybe be the guy in the bottom right-hand panel and the panel above, and the fact he's got a bit of a Reed Richards haircut and a bit of a Reed Richards look to him. Little
sheen in the hair right there.
But apart from that,
shininess.
That could be something that was drawn yesterday. It could be something that was straight out of 2000 AD in the early 80s.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Or it's obviously from the time that it was drawn. Absolutely amazing.
Well, I think there's a lot of 2000 AD. You see their influence in the EC work, because EC started so many young kids, inspired so many kids.
Yeah,
I mean, even the writing in these books are incredible. Just a lot of them are very simple, straightforward science fiction stories. fact, they were adapting in Weird Science. They were adapting a lot of Ray Bradbury tales without getting any clearance. And Bradbury finally wrote him and said, "Look, if you're going to use my stuff, you might as well give me credit.
Put my name on it."
Put my name on it." And so they said, "Yeah, okay." So they started putting, whenever they had a Bradbury adaptation in the book, they always put him right on the cover.
Somebody like Bradbury would have, I personally feel, would have had the insight to understand that if somebody's reading these things in comics, eventually they'll read his books.
No, he was running regularly in pulp magazines at this point.
So, you know, and that's,
and had made a name for himself.
A little while ago, I know that who's the woman that came up with Harry Potter? Rowling. She was saying she would never have Harry Potter in comics.
No.
And I thought that was such a, I mean, I don't want to talk about her personally, but that statement is an ignorant statement. Yeah. Because it's effectively, she didn't want it because she felt that comics were a lesser medium. She had no idea about comics. You know, like she put them down in that one statement. As I understand it, that has now changed. So maybe she got herself educated on comics. Okay. But it is an easy thing to say. But I think people with insight understand that comics are their own medium, their own art form, their own storytelling medium. And as such should be respected for it. And there's no doubt about it that they are, for younger people, a feeder into reading novels. There's no doubt about it.
Definite gateway. Yeah.
A definite gateway drug.
It's taken them forever here in the States to recognize that as well. And now that they have, you've got a company like Scholastic who's selling in the millions.
Yeah.
You know, the almost the most simplistic stories. Luckily, they broke in to the schools with Jeff Smith's Bone. Yeah. It was very much influenced by Walt Kelly's work. Just a beautiful piece of work. And again, the machinery, the depth, it's just incredible.
Everything about that page.
Well, look, but before you change that page, let me say something though. Look at the S shape. If you follow the guys, there's this flow. There's that
there's a definite composition here, knocking you here, bringing you down here, pushing you here.
If you look at the top right hand, you also see it in the turns, in the circles, up to your right, just a little bit behind the guy that's kind of floating.
Here,
see the S that follows the I can't know, you know, where you the not levers, but you turn. There's the circles right there that follow down the same pattern. Yeah,
gauges here.
Yeah,
and that follows down as well. Yeah,
I just can't help but see the composition here of the figure pointing you right to this panel, and then when you knock down here in a Z pattern, this knocks you right up here into the dialogue.
Yeah,
and again, a lot of this was probably done instinctual.
Yeah. He's done it so many times, I'm sure.
Yeah. And you don't see very many splashes like this in the books. Pretty often it's just a half a page for an opening with the title. I think they kick two panels down below in the lower tier.
I think for a while there, like, you know, how-to books have had a little bit too much attention. So, like, Draw the Marvel Way is a fantastic book. You know, I would recommend it for people even just trying to draw. Do you know what I mean? There's some really it doesn't lose itself in comics too quickly, and there's so many other how to draw comics that go straight into that stuff. But they're all good books. You know, I'm not well, not all of them. There are some good books in that genre, but just going and looking at how really, really great artists work, look at their work, look at what works in their work. You don't necessarily need the how-to. You just need to understand them. You just need to go and appreciate them. And not enough people go back to. I would imagine there's not enough young people who want to draw comics going back and examining Wally Wood.
No, I don't.
Just nowhere near enough.
And especially not anymore. No.
Yeah, and it's amazing what you see in it. If you're an artist wanting to draw comics, wanting to be a sequential artist, going back and seeing things and re-examining. I keep on re-examining all the people that I love, all the comic book artists that I love, and I go back to old books, not how-to books, but just old comic books, and I see things every time I go back. I see something new because I'm examining and analyzing and moving myself forward. And you just need to go and do that. And like kids, if you're out there, get yourself a Wally West book. if only for this story that we've just looked at. There's so many lessons just involved in this.
And there are Wally Wood collections out there of a lot of his 50s science fiction work, some of his humor work. I picked up a great book of his Mad comics at Ollie's not too long ago, I think for like $5.
Ugh.
But it was Ollie's, again, is an overrun store. So
Yeah.
these are books that they couldn't sell out to the retailers. So yeah, definitely not enough appreciation out there for Wood. Look at that face right there. With the double lighting, just amazing. And again, there's one of your 3/4 shot. Look at that ear right in the middle of the head.
Yeah, fabulous.
Yeah. It also helps to look at artists that you know are good, but you're not necessarily keen on the style.
Yes.
Even look how they do something.
Yeah, definitely.
I've learned you can learn from anybody.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
growing up, there were artists out there I absolutely hated, and I think the only person that I can't say I've learned anything from was the inking of Vince Colletta. But even Don Heck, I grew up hating Kirby and Heck because Kirby at the time was doing a lot of cover work, but Heck was in all of these reprints, and it was heck. You go and you look at it now, and you see how he worked in layers. It was amazing. Some of his panels almost look like old Viewmaster reels, where you have a defined foreground, midground, and background to them.
Yeah.
And a lot of his explosions were incredibly flat, and I still see them flat to this day. Instead of your typical large explosion, it was almost like a burst, like a starburst that you'd find on a comic balloon panel.
Did you see that
face
that
right
Hulk from Ron Friends during the week?
I can't say that I did.
Oh God!
But I have friends on my.
He is on fire at the moment.
Oh, he's been on fire. His stuff's been super impressive the last couple of years.
Yeah, and he's like it feels, when you look at it, it feels like an old Buscema or Byrne, but it is his image. It is his take on it. It's just wonderful stuff. Wonderful.
And he's also another artist that I had no appreciation for when he was doing his Peter Parker and Spider-Man run, and now you look at his work and your jaw just drops. You're scrolling through Facebook, and here comes this awesome picture, or this awesome superhero drawing. Just amazing.
Just nails it. He nails superhero at the moment. That's what he nails.
Yep. Yeah. We're looking at a wood cover here as well.
Oh yeah.
Weird Science number 9.
So do you think with all those blacks, do you think that's something that he added after he made the composition, or because I've seen Dave Gibbons, like he'll have a page and he'll put all the blacks in and then go back and draw around it. Which I have no idea how you do that.
I doubt he would do that like on this machinery here.
Yeah.
I would imagine that he went through and did all of that in line and then filled in black and then maybe went through and did detail. Yeah.
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 Just this whole composition is just incredible.
I know what you mean. Just like going in, putting all your big black spots in, like that's the shade, do that, and then come back to it and go round it. I think all that is just it's a matter of confidence and doing it a lot, and he obviously experience, and he obviously finds that rather than flicking in the detail and then filling in the big areas, it's easier to just go, I'm going to just chuck the big areas down and then go back to the detail. I don't think he sees it any different, just that it's the other way round.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. It's like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, right.
But he does it so well. Yeah.
Love the reflection there.
Oh, yeah.
Just again, Wood is the kind of artist that you can sit there and stare at for a while, especially if you want to do this for a living. and you have
What
any kind
amazes
of
me-
interest in sequential art in general.
The energy in this piece right here, you can feel the terror those aliens have of being
Mhm.
attacked. It's and these
Oh
are not
my
human
God.
faces per se.
Yeah, great eyeball.
yeah, yeah. That's
No wonder
crazy.
we're not being visited.
yeah,
It's
right.
like the
Stuff like
Fermi
that.
paradox. Where is everybody? Well, they're not here because we're all nuts.
Here is the gray cloud of death, and here is
Look at
Wood
that
at
black.
the height of his abilities, using, and still we still don't have a definitive Wood signature here because he signed it in Old English script after a while. Everywhere that he went, it's still written out as Wood, but this is 2 shades of Zipatone here.
Yeah, yeah.
This is all Zipatone back in here,
So that's
overlaid on top
wow.
of the art.
Yeah. And he knew
Popping-
that while he was doing it as well. That's the
Yeah.
thing. is he
Popping these
understood.
figures out.
Yeah.
That's why he did it.
And look at the semi silhouette on the leg
Mhm.
of the main guy. Just wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is obviously a page you don't need color on.
No,
No.
no,
I mean,
color would ruin it.
It would.
Oh, yeah.
It would usually detract from it, especially 50s dot coloring.
Yeah,
Would have just really detracted from it. And who knows what kind of moire pattern that these dots and the color dots would have pulled out.
yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
always a problem. I'm sure some of these weren't printed. Some of these copies of this issue probably had a coloring problem, especially on this page. It's just amazing. And then here, right here, you're seeing the exact opposite use of the black Zipatone. The little shading here is done in white dot Zipatone.
Mm.
Back behind with a little
With
bit
the
of white
glass.
paint over top of it. Well, it's a little cosmos, a little bit of the galaxy right here behind this rocket.
Lovely.
And then again, cut Zipatone here on that moon to show shade. You get really close up on that, you can see the dots on that. But the machinery, the guy, the lighting, the trademark little circular mechanics that you see, if you've ever seen any of the Thunder Agents, all of them had this little, the Thunder Agents were a group of superheroes that were enhanced by science. They got a whole bunch of little mechanical inventions that enhance their abilities in one form or another. And the way Wood showed, all created by Wood, the way Wood showed that is by using this kind of circle inside of a circle with a beautiful ellipse in it.
Yes.
Yeah, we're still doing that now.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, his
And
wrinkles and his folds in the clothing
Yeah.
is fascinating. That's I love that, and I think this is kind of where it originated in a way. So
And still that 40s, 50s sensibility, even though it's in the future and they're in space. He's got almost what looks like a parachute on back here with the strapping along the leg. The boots are very World War II looking.
Yeah.
A
Beautiful.
real heavy outline on the lettering here. Just phenomenal.
And that's hand done lettering. I mean, look at that.
Oh, yeah.
It's just jumped out.
Yep.
no, I was
Everything here is an art. Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous. This one's for you, Glenn.
Long before computers. They had a different kind of guide on this, though. They had a straight up guide with letters that they could just go through and trace through. So all of the lettering's very, at times, it can look very sterile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But look at that. You're just not going to find better artwork than that in comics.
That's
folks.
this.
That just
You know,
doesn't
there's
happen.
shades of Dan Dare and Bellamy and
And again with Zipatone, it's like duo
Yeah.
shade. It's the it's knowing when to stop, knowing when you've achieved the effect, getting the effect down.
that second row on the left hand page. So panel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with the guy looking down towards us. Just incredible.
You're talking here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right there.
So that one,
Yeah.
that's very Dan Dare. That.
It very
And-
very much so.
And then over on the right hand side, on the right hand page, the middle panel, bottom row. Yeah, there.
Mhm.
And again,
Yeah,
all
bubble.
this stuff. This is so heavily reminds me of 2000 AD.
Yeah.
When it's obvious who they were looking at, when if you look at
well, this is the stuff they were reading when they were kids.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. They, you look at those artists. Just brilliant.
Yeah.
Who was was it the guy? Sorry, I'm just awful at names.
You're fine.
I know these people intrinsically from their art, but never. I just can't remember the names. Watchman was
Dave Gibbons.
Dave Gibbons.
Yeah.
That's it. Dave Gibbons. So you go back, you look at Dave Gibbons, and you look at when he did the Tom Baker stuff in Doctor Who magazine for the UK.
Oh yes, yeah,
and you
very
can
much.
see essences of this in there.
Yeah,
I mean, his style is a bit more. It's a bit grittier. It's a bit looser than this, I think. But you can see where the blacks are. You can see the heaviness and the three-dimensionality. You can see he must have been. I mean, maybe he wasn't. You could turn around and tell me I'm talking crap. But I think he must have been looking at this kind of stuff because.
Well, he was looking at this. He was looking at Williamson.
Yeah,
and Williamson comes in later in the ECs. He's also a find from Gaines, and Williamson went on to do a lot of great comic strip work.
Yeah,
but Wood also bumped around. Wood was so good that Hal Foster allowed. He was the first, I think, person to draw Prince Valiant for the comic strip, other than Hal Foster.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Hal Foster ended up taking a couple of weeks or a month off or something, and Wood came in
and
filled in for him. Yeah.
Well, that shows
he had Wood do it.
That's everything you need to know, isn't it? About the two.
Very much. Yeah, everything you need to know about the quality of his work, the ability here. And again, every page turn. Look at that shadow. Look at the zipatone use back here. This is very much Wood in that look. This is a combination of zipatone and white paint right here. He would lay down the screen and then brush white paint over top of it. Or not quite white out. This is ways before white out. This is white acrylic paint that he would go through. Look at that. The shading work here is zipatone.
How big do you think they were drawing this?
They were doing 2 up at this point.
So that they're effectively drawing on. So A3 out here, which is what I draw on, which is kind of the standard size, is like 11 by 15 or whatever it is.
17.
Yeah. So the actual page is 15, I think.
Because
it's
you have
the
your
board.
borders.
Yeah. So the board is 11.5. My board is 11.5 by 16.5, and I think American is 17.5.
This was probably a little large. Probably.
I was about to say, are they drawing on 20 on effectively 22 by 17?
This is probably a 60% shot reproduction off of the original.
Right. So it is going to be bigger than A3. It is going to be bigger than your standard size.
Yeah. If you saw my Tintin book that I had last week, that's probably close to the size.
Right. Okay.
Now, Hal Foster would draw a lot larger than that. Foster was probably 24 by 38 when he was drawing.
Yeah, that is big.
But it was a Sunday strip, obviously, and he was able to take all week on that work. If you thinking of Hal Foster, thinking of Prince Valiant, if you remember the scene where they're all fighting on the bridge and there's knights falling into the water, and it's just so beautiful. You can tell he spent a couple of days on that panel alone, just, doing what he loved.
Yeah.
But if you ever get a chance to see these original arts on display, and there are some gallery exhibitions now and then that you see, it's definitely worth your time to go take a look. I can't recommend that enough, especially if you want to do this for a living, because it's not the same size you're working in now. It's a lot larger, and the artwork is a lot more, so much more detail than usual. And there again, this is solid wood.
Golly.
Too good. But I mean, it's worthwhile when you look at work like this.
Yeah.
If it's something you want to do, it's worthwhile looking to see what you can't do. So, for instance, it's worthwhile remembering that if these things were done on nearly twice the size that you're currently working on, don't try and get the same effects, because it's gonna lead you into ruin or possibly blindness.
Well,
Because
nowadays,
you're trying to do those kind of, but I think the other thing is there's a lot of digital work being done, but the trouble is it's that if you try and work larger with that digital process, then often what ends up, it's not I'm not saying that everyone who does this, they don't, but I know that I fell into that trap of worrying about going in too small, going in too close.
Right.
And it's actually led me to now traditionally ink. So I'm inking on like 11 by 16, 11 and a half by 16 and a half. Okay. Because that's the UK size. I print out my pencils from a digital and I ink it traditionally. And I know that means that I'm not going to lose any detail when it gets printed at the right size. Okay. I'm not wasting my time. And that's the thing, is that these things were often printed at a slightly larger size. We're not talking about comic book size here. We're talking magazine size. Okay, or they were the Sunday stuff, and they could be printed properly. They weren't losing any of the stuff. So it's all very well saying, "Oh, I want to draw like that," and that's commendable. But if you're packing that into a standard size comic, you're going to miss lots of detail. So don't try. Don't do that. Look, do what's appropriate for the end. So, for instance, if I was going to do a book that was maybe an oversized book, like even bigger than the magazine size, I would consider drawing on a larger size, because I know that I'm not going to waste my time. Okay, inking detail that will never be seen when it's printed, even though it will be there on the page. It'd be very difficult for the eye to pick it out. So you have to draw appropriately.
That's wood right there.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
look at
just
that.
Amazing. Yeah.
However, saying that, even if you take away sort of like, because he was drawing on a larger size, if you take away 20% of the detail in this, it's still going to look amazing.
Yeah.
It's still going to look, because I mean, and just look at the way that guy in the middle in the center panel, his position, the weight of him. He's obviously out there in space. It's like, it's beautiful stuff.
Probably try
absolutely.
Bring that a little closer.
Yeah, with the digital stuff, it's really hard to figure out the same sizes on digital doesn't really seem to mesh with the same size as real life. So it's very hard to.
Well, I actually worked out templates. So 300 a 300 DPI template on when you're working in something like Clip Studio or Photoshop, if you view it at 50% of the actual DPI, so you're probably looking at it around, in the real world, 150 DPI. That's roughly the size of an 11.5 by 17.5 piece of art. Roughly, if you go to a 50% zoom. But the problem is that when you're drawing on a screen, you don't have the same fidelity that you do in the real world. That's just a fact. What you do is now I enjoy drawing on a screen, so I'm not putting it down. I really like doing it. I enjoy doing the pencils on the screen. But what happens is there is some fidelity lost, and in order to overcome the fidelity loss, you all you need to do is zoom in a little bit closer. So, for instance, if you're zooming in at 50% the size and everything looks grand, and you're effectively drawing at the size of an actual piece of paper, or pretty close approximation of, and you've got a small face, okay, that you need to nail, all right, then you can zoom in another 10 or 20%, and you're not over detailing, okay,
right.
But if you go but you must come back out again, because so the temptation is to stay there at that sort of 60 or 70% or even 80% increase in size, okay, and then start doing even more detail in there, and you get lost really, really quickly, really, really easily. And that's the danger of it, and it's very, very easy to do. I've done it myself.
Yeah, that's the thing about digital is it will have a tendency to focus on one panel, and you kind of miss the whole.
Yeah,
the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
definitely. And it's you must keep zooming out and keep looking at what you're doing. Yes, I mean, even now, I'm finding, depending on what I'm drawing. So at the moment, I'm inking Batman up, and I'm doing a bit more of a detailed page for Batman because it works for what I'm doing. When I'm doing the Only Death Can Save Us stuff, firstly, there's a difference in page size, but I'm drawing at the same size. So I'm actually managing to put a little bit more detail, if you like. Maybe not detail, but there's more, it's denser, if you see what I mean, once it goes down to the appropriate size. So I can get away with not being as detailed, if you see what I mean. I don't have to put in as many strokes. And also there's a certain style that I want for Only Death Can Save Us that I don't want for the Batman stuff or for the Doctor Who stuff that I was doing either. So you just have to be careful and draw appropriately at the appropriate sizes and make sure that, unless you absolutely, if you want to be an Alcala and put bloody just fill the page with detail, fine, okay. But if that's you, that's great, and that works, okay, because that's your thing, right? But if you're trying to knock out pages on a regular basis, because we were talking about, is this something you want to do professionally? You need to do it. You need to have some kind of speed to what you're doing and efficiency. Otherwise, you won't get paid enough to live. Okay, that's just the basis of any business. So you have to have some. So you have to come to a point where you're comfortable with the amount of detail you're laying down on a page, and you have to take into account whether you're drawing digitally or traditionally or not in order to make that work for you. So there's no definite, do or don'ts here. I'm not suggesting you must have a hard set of rules. All I'm saying is you must find your equilibrium. Okay, otherwise you'll find yourself getting lost real easy.
There's a lot of outside forces at work too, not just the page which you want to draw. So getting paid per page, and you're only doing a page a week doesn't help.
That's not a good thing. Not unless they're paying you $1,000 a page. Of course, I'd do that. Yeah. I don't think that has, unless of course Elon wants to come and buy me. That's fine. I'm good with that. You can buy me, Elon. I won't cost you anywhere near 44 billion quid. I'm much cheaper than that.
We're looking at the cover of Weird Science number 20. This is farther along in the EC run. You can see Wood at this point has perfected his signature.
Oh my God, look at that. That's just gorgeous.
Right there.
It's just gorgeous. So that's the first time. There you go. That page, the style of the girls is obviously of the period of time.
Of the 50s, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely got a feel to it. But it's beautiful. And in some ways I think I prefer it like that because it's
not just that, but here comes some hardcore male toxicity. Right here, this guy's pointing, and the balloon is saying "alone in space" with 50 frozen dolls just waiting to be thawed. Now let's see. Eeny, meeny, miny.
That's just hideous, isn't it? This is horrible. That's horrific.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Dolls.
So very,
I like the way he calls them dolls.
Very.
Dolls.
Yeah, they're all dolls. Yeah.
And you're all going to do exactly what I tell you because I'm the bloke and you're the women's.
Yep.
Yeah.
God.
First cover shown inside the volume.
I presume, though, there's a moral there and he gets his comeuppance.
I'm sure he does. Yeah. I'm sure it's exactly what happened.
Excuse
and
my
again,
choice
bald.
of language.
You know how it is. It's bald. They were bald back then. There's usually a mad scientist.
They're usually mad scientists, too much testosterone, and need to be pulled down a peg.
Bald motherfuckers. Right?
Yeah.
Bring a Hugo Strange looking.
Yeah.
Yeehaw.
Well, really, the whole mad scientist motif is out of the bald mad scientist is Dr. Savannah. That's why Lex Luthor went from being red-haired to bald, because Savannah was so popular. And here we're looking at the cover for number 18, Look at the Zipatone work here on the cover. Already done.
Oh wow!
Just a brilliant composition. This is very much a Wood trademark.
And that Zipatone is done so well that even when you put the color on it, it looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And again, you've got Marie Severin coloring this.
Oh well, okay.
Both original and the reproduction.
There you go. That's why.
And that's it too. There's the Wood signature there on the bottom. That classic English script. First story, Mars is Heaven by Ray Bradbury. Let's look at again.
He loved Mars, didn't he, old Ray?
Mars was big back then. Yeah.
Look at that mad page. Wow.
And that was, I believe that was Wood as well. It sure does look like his stuff. Looks like his mad stuff. We'll look at that, except for that cover, of course. That's Harvey Kurtzman. But everything around that is very.
Notice those guys. They could do everything. Buscema did some comedy stuff, didn't he, for Marvel as well, and he was just so great at that.
And again, you're just looking at the quality that Gaines insisted on and found in doing that kind of work. Granted, Kurtzman is very simplistic here, but he's incredibly, he's masterful in composition, look, style. Everything.
Yeah, go on, AI, draw that.
Yeah.
I dare
they won't
you.
get the hands right. They
by the time AI can draw this properly, I'll be dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at the line weights here contrasting with the shadows. Yeah. Again, you can stare at any one of these volumes literally for hours with the level of talent that's here. At this point, Williamson is probably doing work for them. Frazetta is in the background doing apprentice work and starting to do regular sequential work as well. Look at this there. And that's long before, he probably painted that in with white strokes, I imagine, or else he went around it very carefully on the contrasting shadow there on that panel.
Yeah, I was on a show recently with somebody who used to be a Marvel editor, and they were talking about watching Texera, Mark Texera, just sitting there with the ink, one hand, white out in the other hand, standing at the table, just going at it. So it just
you work at it.
That way.
You work at it at that level, it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
And the Jetpack Girl cover on Revolt that Chris Scalf did. Scalf is like that with Photoshop. It's amazing to sit and watch him work. And most of the time he would look back. He was trying to show me how he works, and he'd keep looking back at me because I wasn't saying anything, because I was just staring at his ability. Just incredible. He's just working like a maestro,
Right,
conducting an orchestra.
You look at his work and the broad brushstrokes that he produces, and he's a perfect example of someone who has completely mastered that whole idea of not going in too far to the detail in Photoshop. He's just everything he does, the way he does it.
Yeah.
It's you could easily start dropping in too close, but he doesn't, and it's beautiful.
Well, he will zoom in and zoom out constantly.
Yeah,
and
exactly. He's zooming out. That's the whole point. Is he's coming out and thinking, right, I'm not going too far here.
He gets that eye after a while, and he's literally a Photoshop man. He's got videos up on YouTube showing how he works. Just incredible stuff. Look at that shadow right there. Just amazing. Pops right out. Black tone silhouettes here.
I mean, and surely workflow,
detail.
Having a good workflow and a good idea of what you put down first and then on and on has to really play into that.
Yeah, it's like we were saying, it's experience, isn't it? Once you've got your eye and once you know what you're going to do with it.
Yeah. There's an incredibly simplistic background for Wood. It's just it's an outline.
Yeah.
Let me pull up closer on that panel so that you see it. It's just amazing how in its simplicity. Even foreground and background both are just
what's he filled
shades.
That in with?
I got to look at it closer here. That is a duo shade pattern.
Yeah.
Or not a duo shade, but that is a Zipatone pattern. Let the camera focus here. Get that light working. Let me pull that up just a hair so that you can see what that looks like. And I can't get close enough. It just looks like a gray tone on the camera to me. Yeah. But it is a zipper tone. It's an unusual zipper tone pattern. It's all dots. It's back here.
Yeah, you can kind of make it out.
And again, knowing here I've got this panel, I don't have to clutter up with all of this. I can just do a shape here to show the city, a shape in the front showing porch and steps. The main gist of the story is you have a bunch of astronauts landing on Mars, and Mars is in the pattern of their hometown.
Oh, that's extracted straight out of the Martian Chronicles, isn't it?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, because
this is Bradbury's Mars is Heaven. Yeah.
Second part or third part or something. They go, and it's effectively the Martians that are still left.
Yeah,
they're a dying race. They're
minds.
able to control their minds. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Get that face. It's beautiful.
Yeah, because it all ends up with them basically saying we are the Martians now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the humans. Yeah. No, it's great books. Great books. Just there is something though. I mean, and this is something I struggle with because you want to know how much background to put in because you don't want to overdo it, and yet look at all these panels with all these backgrounds in there. Wonderful.
I gotta go back and draw my own stuff after this.
That's gorgeous. That one there, so atmospheric. Yeah. But for every time he does something like that, you've got 5 or 6 panels that are full of wonderful backgrounds.
Yeah.
He puts people in. He puts them in real places that you look at it and it all feels so solid.
But again, he was working on a larger size than what we work on now, so he was able to fill that in pretty easily.
I mean, look how
the detail.
Look how much is going on in there in that one panel, and down to the size, the original size, often is given away by if you look at the shading on the guy's face in that panel, just how close together and fine the lines are.
That crosshatch,
and up into his nose as well, and you can see this again Brian Bolland in there,
little sheen,
right. Brian Bolland is of that same age that he was. This would have been what he was reading.
Not just that. You get into this here. You're talking Lee. You're Jim Lee. You're talking Scott Williams.
Yeah, I mean, there's a
lot of that right there.
You can see a straight line there from from Wood all the way through 2000 AD right up into the 90s and the popular artists of the 90s.
Yeah.
You can go and find these things all over the place. So you can see where the inspiration was for Lee to draw the way that he did. And again, if you look at early Lee, it took him a while to get that sort of hyper stylized version of himself.
Yeah.
I'm not as keen on Lee, modern Lee, as I was on the 90s Lee. I felt that in the mid to late 90s he kind of got himself a groove, and it was very dynamic. I think he's probably more anatomically correct now than he was then. But again, that's not something that you noticed hugely, just because his styling was just so wonderful. He instilled so much energy, and that's where you can kind of go back in a lineage. When you look at people like Buscema and you look at Lee and you think, well, there's nothing between them. They're nothing like each other. Oh, they're hugely like each other.
Oh yeah.
The angles that they use, the dynamics, the weight, the energy that they put into panels in simple ways. Again, so many people get the wrong idea about Lee's work, and all they see is lots of detail. No, there isn't. It's not huge detail. It is just very cleverly crafted lines. And even Lee uses economy of line in the way that Buscema did.
Yeah,
it's just that it's just his style and the way that it's produced. All you need to do is look at some of the is it Scott Williams that did his inking? Williams on Lee. You see some of his videos, and you can just see like these beautiful, clean lines that he's laying down over Lee's work, and yet it's got this incredible atmosphere to it.
Yeah,
it's just it's understanding what you're doing on the page and knowing what you're doing. So many of us, we're throwing throwing it at the wall and seeing if it sticks.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of these people just got to it really quickly and then nailed it, realized they'd nailed it, and then moved on from there. Whereas, it's getting to that point is the hard bit. Getting to that point is the hard bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, this page is a class all in itself. The stark light, zipatone use up here, incredibly thin, beautiful line work here, inking work, and yet the light source coming in, just hitting that. It's nighttime. Next panel, especially solid black, just enough shadow or just enough light there to show what we're looking at.
It's like
just amazing.
It's like somebody took Wally Wood, cut him in half, and one half of him became Dave Gibbons, and the other half became Brian Bolland. It's absolutely incredible. It's just a beautiful work.
Yep.
Well, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see where they each got their style from the same person.
Yeah,
but it's different. Two different styles.
Yeah, I mean, I showed a book I think last week, Atomica, with the actress and the bishop by Brian Bolland.
Yep.
And I can see that in that top 3 panels there. I can see it in there. I can see what he was doing and how that's affected him. And then you go onto the right-hand page, and you can even think about Swamp Thing, Frankenstein.
Wrightson.
You can see
Wrightson
in that panel there.
Very much so.
It's just, look how good that face is with a guy that's smoking. It's just so bloody good.
Here. Yeah. The thing is, though, this isn't Wood.
Oh, that isn't
Williamson.
Oh,
this is Al Williamson.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, bloody hell. Well, you can see. I mean, wow. That I think that is definitely an effective.
Just think about being a teenager during this time and you running in for a dime. You're picking up 4 stories, and one of them is this Wood story, and the other one is this Al Williamson story. How are you not going to be influenced by that if you want to do this kind of work?
No, it's just it freaks you out, doesn't it? It's just so good.
And here, this actually looks like, I'm pretty sure this is dual shade board, just from the use.
He's doing very similar things, isn't he?
Very dual shade, Yep. And again, the typical Williamson space, very much so. And that look he used all the way through the rest of his career. I mean, there's so much. The thing with Williamson is his work stayed so steady and constant no matter what he did. You look at the Flash Gordon adaptation and it's beautiful. You look at his Star Wars work and it's gorgeous. Just incredible. Maybe we should take a look at that in a future episode. Oh, the corner.
Well, we've got lots of content, mate.
We got tons and tons. Beautiful silhouette. But again, that's Williamson. Let's go. How much time do we have left here? Oh, look at that. We got we're at the quarter after mark. There's another Wood story here. Loathsome. Look at that line work. Look at that dual shade work here. Oh, that's line work here. Just beautiful line work. There's a little dual shade right there. And again, his signature.
All that black just pointing to the action. Just pointing to where you need to look at. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's light source. That atomic explosion. This is back during the atomic bomb paranoia.
I mean, that's fabulous.
This is right in the middle of it, actually, the Cold War.
Well, that first page we looked at had that similar light at the top, dark at the bottom look to it. It's just
too good.
Phenomenal.
Turn the camera off now.
2 pages of conversation here. Just beautiful stuff.
And all of it dynamic. None of it's dull or boring.
Yeah. Only occasional hits with zipatone. Boom, boom, boom. Just enough. Pardon me. Just enough to pop things, pull things forward or back. Thin line work here. Oh, goodness. Excuse me again. A little bit of duo shade combined with zipatone here. Just look at that. It's a beautiful figure right there. Again, very 50s, very good girl art.
And yet, yeah, right, you can see Steranko in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm sure Steranko will blatantly admit to that too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There is a lot of everybody in this. But if you're going to get your inspiration, you go back as far as you can, to the original source. I'm sure there were people out there as well that Wood was more than inspired by. You know what? Since we've only got a little bit of time left here, I want to pull up his Mad material just so that
awesome.
you can see how phenomenal
contrast
it was. Not just contrast, but this is Mad. This is Kurtzman. He did a lot of the covers. He was working on Mad pretty much at this point. Move that tripod a little closer there so that we can see this. Every issue of Mad probably had a Wood story in it. And Will Elder especially doesn't get enough love.
Sherlock
for this work.
Sholmes.
Unfortunately, the Mads are in color. I wish they were in black and white.
Look at what's going on in that panel.
Every story is a parody, And
Oh,
guess who's doing this work?
Hmm.
You'd never know by looking at it, and you might not be that familiar with his style. But look at that. That is John Severin.
Oh,
Face.
this is like a storybook. This is.
It is.
Yeah.
They're
Were
not
set up that way.
Yeah, they're not putting the word balloons and ruining the art.
No.
Yeah.
Those pesky scripts.
Hey, look, there's a Kurtzman. Smiling Melvin. It's Wood right there.
And look, you still have those wrinkles, those folds in the fabric. I don't know. So the cuffs of the pants always catch me for some reason.
The key to Mad was its humor, and its humor was in its over exaggeration. A lot of times, this particular character here, his face is away from the camera the entire strip, as part of a running gag. But Smiling Melvin is right there up front. This is off of Smiling Jack, which is an old aviation comic strip. And here, just look at that tightness, right to the comedy of the face. Again, this is Wood, zipatone here.
It's brilliant. Wood
having fun. Wood also is notorious for he did this gigantic poster of Walt Disney characters that got him into a lot of trouble with the Disney organization because of the adultness of the illustration.
What was it?
And
what
sure they'd love it now.
Oh no, they wouldn't. They threatened to sue pretty hard if they didn't.
Something.
I think they sent him a cease and desist.
What they called him?
Wood?
The mouse. What they gave him a name? Was it?
Oh no, there's a strip in here called Melvin Mouse.
Is it Melvin Mouse? And it looks
Melvin,
just like Mickey.
Melvin was a funny name back then, apparently, because there's also all of the Tarzans are Melvin of the Apes.
It's still a funny name.
Still a funny name.
It's still
It just blew here.
It's not as funny as Tarquin, but it's still a funny name.
And again, I think Marie probably colored all of these as well. Look at that big. What an exaggerated female right there. Frank N. Stein. This is Will Elder again. So, the key to the Mads were not just the over exaggeration, but like with all of the EC work, especially Wood's work, you can sit there and stare at it for hours and not catch all of the detail.
I remember being a kid and picking up the Mad occasionally because it wasn't something you could get a lot of over here.
Yeah,
and being strangely attracted to it, and yet looking at it going, well, there's no superheroes on the page. Well, I don't want to read this. And yet finding myself poring over it and thinking, oh, this is just so good. It was a strange love affair.
Lone Stranger rides again.
Yeah.
Well, the great thing about Mad that always caught my attention were the caricatures of actors
Yeah.
that they would use.
Who did the Saturday
yeah,
Night Fever one?
The what?
The Saturday Night Fever, the John Travolta one. Who did?
Oh,
that?
you're probably talking Mort Drucker.
Yeah, I mean that stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
Drucker was just amazing. Not only could he hit likenesses, but I understand he worked incredibly fast. This Lone Stranger page is amazing. He's here shooting. It's boasting about his prowess and his abilities not to have hit the can at all. And this page, though we're slightly off of wood, this is done by the great Jack Davis. Get all the blam blam pow pow dow pew. Just funny. I wish I had this in black and white to show you, because in a lot of ways the color just detracts from the greatness of the detail. The Lone Stranger and Pronto. Yeah.
Pronto.
And of course, in the end, he's tied up because it's like, what do you mean, we pale face? More haylooks.
Yeah, it's a shame that this is just not on the newsstands anymore.
That Boy and Reuben. Again by Wood. Classic strip.
Well, you can't do Mad anymore because you're not allowed to have irony or sarcasm.
Well, you can. You're just not going to be able to put it out on the stands. There's a desperate, there's a desperate need for this kind of humor, and you don't find it very often. Yeah. Just on the entertainment value. And again, you can't quite see all of the beautiful detail that Wood has put in here. There's a great fog effect right up in here. Fantastic Batmobile right there. Just cartoonish as all get out, but great. Just beautiful looking. Almost like a little kid's toy car running around.
It's like a Batman cow.
That was the big running joke, was how much Robin was used and abused all the way through. And then in the end, of course, let me turn that page here. Batman turns out to be a vampire Batboy.
Jesus.
It's kind of like that joke where Robin asks, "Why are you all dressed in black and I'm in colorful clothing?" That way,
exactly.
Him.
I do think that joke is in here.
Is it?
Yeah. Classic Kurtzman Mad cover. The bad ones are coming, Marshall, but as long as I hold you, I'm not afraid, for I know you are not afraid.
He's gone.
Out of his glove.
The socks.
The socks, right?
Yeah. Little Orphan Melvin. Again by Wood.
Look at that.
Little Orphan Annie,
man.
of course, big strip in the day during this period. And again, the coloring just takes away from the sheer detail that's in a lot of that. Look at that great explosion by Doom. I have a 2-volume.
See the other, like the Goon and the what's his name, Scotty Young, a little bit. I can see that influence from here.
Yeah,
just the shape language in this.
Yeah, very much so. I have a 2-volume hardback set of Don Martin that I should show here as well, because he is exactly the opposite of Wood. Super simplistic, very cartoony, very ingenious. I just posted a panel of Don Martin's up on my Facebook page of a sound effect, a spladoink, about a guy who falls through a grating and is stopped by his nose.
That's olive oil. Olive oil falls to the grate and stopped by her nose.
Yeah.
I saw that the other day. That's hilarious.
It's Will Elder adapting The Raven. This is the regular poem, only with narration or with add-on illustrations by Elder.
Brilliant.
Bringing home
so they're telling the actual poem, but they're illustrating it in a comedical way. That's
exactly
brilliant.
The Simpsons did that for Edgar Allan Poe.
Well,
I know this predates it hugely, but
not just that, but this is probably the source material.
Yeah, and it's they did a really good job of that, I have to say.
Yes, yeah. To take something that's so dark and serious and then put images over it to make it comical is just brilliant.
Yeah.
Here we have an ad for Mad's companion magazine, Panic, done by Jack Davis. Just look at those figures, just amazing. You want to talk about master cartoonists? Bop jokes because of the Bop era. This is also by John Severin.
The what era?
Ring Bop.
Yeah,
Like
that one I'm not
hipster
familiar with.
zoot suit, all cool daddy.
You got me in this zoot suit, Doc.
Yep. Look at the floppy hats. Just all
Zoot
cool daddy.
suit.
Pre-hippie
Hippies.
hippies. Just amazing splat.
It's safe.
Just amazing stuff. The first appearance of Robert Crumb. No, just kidding. Just looks a lot like it.
It does. I can see that.
High Noon, Jack Davis. Anyway, continuing on. G.I. Schmo. Always after the pretty girl. Yeah, just classic 50s good girl again. Wally Wood. Off of the G.I. Joe movie.
That's what I said. Like, say, so that the female on that first page, and when he's talking about tracing, I can see him putting something down and getting that form just to get that posturing. After that, that's all he does.
Yeah, I mean, it's tracing and there's tracing, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not talking. Who's that guy that traces all the porn pictures for Marvel?
Land.
Well, there's
Greg
Greg
Land.
Land.
Yeah.
Greg
And there's
Land.
another
Yeah,
one.
there's Greg Land and then there's artists. Sorry, Greg, but
And
stop tracing so much. Okay?
And I hate to point it out, but he probably pulled that out of his head more than use reference.
Yeah,
It
he
wouldn't surprise
probably-
me at all.
yeah,
knowing
probably.
Well, I'm
did.
just thinking. What I was telling. We were talking about before though, when he was asked what how did he get his women so well? That was what he said. Was he traced?
Yeah, but
And I
there's
think it's
tracing
really
and there's tracing and there's tracing, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
you're saying, there's like putting it down and saying, right, I've got the form. I know. I now completely understand. When you lay a picture down and say, right, okay, I'm gonna trace over the top of that and get roughly the figure right. It's effectively a shortcut for an artist instead of getting a model up and saying, can I draw you? Right. Which takes hours and days to organize. Okay. And you don't have that time, especially these guys, an artist drawing every day. So as Neil Adams said, any artist who says they don't trace is a liar. Okay.
Yes.
You always have to do whatever it takes to get the job done. Having said that, if you trace all the time, it will show through.
Yeah.
Oh, it will. Yeah.
Because you will lose your energy. You will lose energy in the work, and you will
absolutely.
lose the pace and all kinds of stuff. Because you come to depend on the pictures that you're tracing rather than use them as an occasional tool.
Yep.
Well, Neil Adams on his Patreon actually showed you. He took a picture of Ted Danson and turned that picture of Ted Danson into Batman. So he kind of shows you there is a technique to tracing as far as that's concerned. And I absolutely agree. If you continue to rely on that, which he didn't, it's going to kill you.
No. I mean, he's an amazing. Was an absolute great.
Oh yeah.
But it's the fact that he was so upfront about that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Wood had a very famous saying: when you're working, don't draw what you can't trace. Don't trace what you can't swipe. Don't swipe what you can't, cut out and paste.
Oh, right. Neil was talking about another guy. He said, fantastic artist. I just kind of wish he would use his own photographs or something a little bit better. And he didn't say the name, but I'm pretty sure he was talking about Greg Land.
No, you see, if you look at Greg Land's work, look, this is not the Greg Land, have a go at Greg Land hour. Okay, like good on him for being, whatever he's done, great. You got to look at him and say he's made money, he's done his job. Exactly. And he has drawn some pretty entertaining and well-formed comics.
Yeah. Okay? Oh, yeah.
But you can see a definite, before he found how to trace pornography,
right?
And after he traced pornography, you can
before and after RedTube. Is that what you're saying?
You can definitely see, you can definitely see an improvement in his figure drawing. Okay,
the age of the internet came up, and then
exactly, you can definitely see that. And from
before
purely
from this Go ahead.
Purely from a perspective of an artist getting on and getting the job done, you have to hand it to him.
Yeah.
You can't get too picky about it. However, saying that, some of the work eventually ended up being quite flat because even though it was executed really well, it didn't because he was relying on those. Boy, it seemed. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because I don't want to snap people off. Okay, Greg, we're friends. Hopefully, if you ever meet me, okay, I'll buy you a beer. All right, but the point being is that I feel that he lost something in his work there because he started to depend on it. And I think any artist who depends on tracing will eventually lose energy, will eventually lose something in their work because you have to. The whole point of sequential art is that you're generating a story, you're generating a world, and you want that world to come alive. And the more energy you remove from it by tracing, the less alive that world is.
Well, what adds a lot of that energy is just those I can't remember the kind of when you're just drawing and you're just trying to find what works and what doesn't.
Yeah,
scribbling.
Yeah,
it comes from that, and when you do that tracing, it takes that away.
Yes,
so
I think it does. Yeah, I think it does, and then we get into, as like I was saying about Greg's work, from a slick perspective, a lot of it was gorgeous. And that's okay. That's great. It looks like, and I've got a whole bunch of comic books, more modern, more contemporary comic books up on my shelves here that I don't go to anywhere near as much as I go to the older stuff,
right?
Because they got a point where it started to get a bit bland. Everything was the same, and there was some stunning work in DC as well, in sort of the 2010s, mid 20. Up 2015, there was some stunning work, and it was like I was saying earlier, it became it's not that it was too realistic. It just, I don't know, it just seemed to be reaching for realism, and it became a little stagnant to me. I wanted to see more, and that's where who did White Knight, Sean
Murphy.
His style. I'm not a great lover of his style, however. It is a beautiful style. Okay, there's something elegant about it, and and his people don't look like people; they look like angled things. But they great. Do. I love them. I absolutely, I love that aspect of what he's doing. Okay, and I suppose like Manola, he can draw under that. Okay, but he chooses that very graphic style, and there's something about it. There's something. It's the style that does it. And that's where the lesson comes into all artists. Yeah. It's not style over substance, okay? As from when you're learning, make sure you understand how everything works. Then you can break the rules, okay? And people like Manola break rules all the time of what you would consider to be rules of figure drawing or what have you. And it always turns out fantastic.
They know how to break them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Before we turn off this page, I just want to make note of the tank in the background, the bomb sunk into the beach, the can of rations.
I want to know where her internal organs are.
Sit here. Where her internal organs are?
Up there.
It doesn't matter. And of course, she's sitting on an ammo box of BB. Daisy, BB.
Just
on the ammo box.
It's just a brilliant panel.
It's well colored though.
Yes,
it is. Yeah. But again, like we keep saying, sometimes on this the color can detract. You get a solid block like this, and you're easy to ignore the detail.
Yeah. I wouldn't have chosen the monotone blue for those smoke right there.
Well, you also have to remember the limitations of the coloring system back then as well. This isn't modern coloring at all. You can't do that digitally. Yeah. So a lot of times they did just have to lay down flat tones. You couldn't get a graduated tone and trust it. That's why the Hulk is green.
Yeah. I don't know. There's sometimes these flat colors. There's something super charming about them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And even down to the way the stories are told, it just makes it less complex. I don't know. Is that a beautiful villain?
G.I. Schmo ends up with the girl at the bottom of every pen.
Of every
page.
Hey, Joe, you got
He's
chewing
always-
gum?
He's got this mystified duh look on his face. Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Jump
Hey, why
into my
not?
lap. It's fine.
It's that every time. This is
I mean, look
part
at
of the
the
fun of the
villain.
running
Her, she's stunning.
they're all, but you see that they are caricatures of stunning
Yeah.
women.
Oh, yeah.
aren't they? They're
Oh, meant to
yeah.
be. Meant to be.
That's the way you see all women when you're 14.
Yeah. So true.
True.
Same. Anyway, come back sane. Again, John Severin.
And it's amazing you could pack those panels with so much stuff and continue to keep the same energy.
Yeah.
That's just because usually sometimes when you see a lot of panels and it's packed with a lot of background or what have you, it doesn't have that energy to it. It can make it stagnant.
Yeah,
But
or it
that
can
just-
confuse the panel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here is the classic Wood Woman Wonder. Note the beanie. Instead of the
Yes. It's had the invisible jet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope there's no toilet in the original. In the
Oh my
Invisible
god!
I wouldn't think so.
For everybody's sake, let's hope not.
Bat Boy, again, showing up here on the side. Continuing that running gag from a few episodes before. It's that
Boy,
great face.
got her in a
What
beanie.
again?
Can you imagine? You put her in a beanie.
This is incredibly fast for Wood. It's a lot more simplistic in the material, but a lot at the same time funnier, more comedic.
Yeah.
Oh, and the discovery of the great Basil Wolverton
Mm.
and his portraits during that era. Number 11.
Beautiful girl of the month.
Wolverton went on to do the covers for DC's Plop
His
for many
his
years.
stuff is just so disturbing.
Yes.
It's
And
just-
again, we're
as
looking at masterful ink work
Yeah.
here. When you can
Oh,
look
yeah.
past the
Oh, yeah.
grotesque.
As-
That's all line work.
as a
Stippling.
child looking at
Yeah.
that stuff, it did disturb me. It was like, ooh, this is. Ooh.
Yeah, it's something that sticks in your mind. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
it does. I definitely remember a whole bunch of that stuff. It's like, ooh.
Here's Wood again, Flesh Garden. Instead of Flash Gordon. Whoops, sorry.
Let's say, yeah, that makes sense. I would, if you were going to have something called Flesh Garden, you would want to get Wally Wood on it.
That is great. That is
Yes,
funny
well,
stuff.
it's the head. That
That's
head we're
good.
talking about in Weird Science.
That's not suggestive at all.
No, it's not. It's
Not at all.
no. Grab hold of this.
Again, look at Zarkov. And Wood did go on to do some Flash Gordon strip work.
Oh, I
besides that.
believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. Yeah. But how was he able to see? Because you have this cartoony type body, but this classic head, and yet it goes together so well. He puts it together so well, which is unusual to
Well,
see.
again, underneath that is a command of anatomy. I mean, you
Yeah.
have a comedic, like, so that panel, the right hand panel, panel 4 on that left hand page, you have
Yes.
a comedic woman who manages to look stunning.
Yeah.
Yes.
All the
Not
beats
just
are in
that,
the
but
right place.
An
okay?
over-exaggerated guy with an axe.
And then you look at the guy.
Yeah.
You look at the guy, and again, even though he's cartoony and over exaggerated, all you need to do is look at his arm muscles.
Mhm.
You know, you can see everything's right about it, and that's kind of what makes it convincing. And then the face of the scientist on the left hand side, panel
Oh
3.
yes.
No,
Zarkov.
no.
I mean, that's
Well, yeah, there, but also on panel 3 of the left hand page. Just
Yeah, hand right
Yes,
toward that. Yeah.
it's just fantastic. The
Yeah.
volume in it and everything, and yet it's also cartoony and bonkers.
This almost has a Mort Drucker look to it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
Yes, I
the
can see
great
that.
exaggerations later on, when after Gaines had gotten fed up with dealing with the Comic Code Authority, decided to turn Mad into a magazine. These comic artists ended up going off into other companies. A lot of them ended up over at Jim Warren Publications, doing eerie, creepy Vampirella. But Gaines went through and collected a whole new gang of idiots, as he called them in the magazine.
Yeah.
With one of them are their own individual cartoonists, their own individual master of their craft, just as masterful as the EC artists here.
There was
Just
just
amazing
a
to
sense
sit
of
and watch.
anarchy and rebellion at this time. That's
You
even
see
in the
that
weird science stuff, you can see it.
in my opinion, that's what makes the best of comics. You go and you
Yeah.
watch the
Yeah.
Future Shock documentary. That was Pat Mills's one of his proudest statements is we were going against the system there.
We were punk.
We were going punk.
Yeah. We were punk rock in comics. And
Yeah.
I was just a little bit too young. I missed out on punk rock. And then ended up being engulfed in bloody New Romantics. How shit was that? Of all the things that we gave the world.
Right.
But punk was a driving force in a lot of the subculture that I was involved in, like 2000 AD. And definitely as someone who's always been a little belligerent, let's call me.
Well, I think when you gave
I've
punk
got
its name,
very exaggerated.
when you gave it its name, punk, and you decided to stereotype it, like
yeah.
Oh, this is punk.
No,
You
not at all.
The aesthetic of it. Yeah,
no, not at all. And I would. I've always got a bit of an issue with some of the things that Americans called punk. I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, yeah,
it's a little bit lightweight and middle of the road for me. But yeah, punk, that subculture and myself, I feel like I've always been a little bit, and counterculture myself, was a little bit belligerent. The best of the great British is being a little bit belligerent. Do you know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm not standing in that queue. I'm sorry, I don't care how bloody British it is. I'm not doing it. And there's that essence of like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not following that line. I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. And it's in every page of 2000 AD. It just shouts it. And there were several, books and stuff out at the time. And personally, I feel we're missing that now. Mm-hmm. I think certainly in the mainstream, there is no mainstream counterculture, if you see what I mean, in the way that comic books were back in 1978. Okay, and we are missing that. Although, the indie scene is trying to, build that gap. The only trouble is obviously not all of the indie scene is counterculture. There's lots of indie scene that's quite happy to sit within, mainstream guidelines, what have you, just be independent and do it, which means that kickback, that force back of counterculture is nowhere near as strong as it was, back in the late 70s and early 80s. Well, it would be lovely to see more of it, and more of it be spread further afield. I think that's what we need now. We need another Mad magazine. We need someone who loves comics, really. We need someone who loves comics and who has a couple of billion in their pocket. Come on, Lee. Come on, Elon. You can do it.
We need the culture that doesn't think, oh, this could be a Netflix show.
Exactly.
Even if it's not even if that's not your main goal, is like I create comics to make a Netflix show. But sometimes people have that still in the back of their minds. Oh, this could be a movie. This could be make the comic, man. Just make the comic.
No, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with saying, I don't, if they wanted somebody to come up to me and said, I want to take Only Death Can Save Us and we want to make it a Saturday morning cartoon show, I'd be like, yes, fantastic.
But that's not the reason you made it.
Exactly. That's not why I made the comic. I made the comic because I love comics and I want to make comics. And part of me, as a young man, looking at the bullpen, which did or did not exist back in the day, okay, and loving all those artists and loving the way that Marvel was back then, and so so very inclusive, which not sure it is now. It was. I wanted to do it professionally. I wanted to be good enough that someone would pay me to do it. That was part of it. It wasn't just about making comics. It was about it being a profession, about you being a draftsman, and that's why I said earlier about having this sort of weird love affair with stuff in Mad comics, even though I didn't like it because it wasn't superheroes or science fiction, but it was still, you looked at it and you could not deny how damn good it was. Yeah, and it's that draftsmanship, just looking at that quality of the work and thinking, I want to do that. I want to tell stories. I want to reach people. And I want to do it at such a standard that I'm paid to do it.
Right. Well, even like something as simple as Spy versus Spy, which is what I grew up,
Love that stuff.
Yeah, even as simple as that. it had its edge to it.
That was
You know?
Wiley. That all that was Wiley Coyote and Roadrunner
Right.
in
Very
spy
much so.
costumes. You know,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
brilliant. Loved it. Loved it.
What I think we should do, I do have a set of old 70s Mad magazines that were right during the prime period of Mad. Maybe we should do another episode of this Comics by Night and go through some of those.
Yeah, we
because
could
the-
do Mad
Oh, yeah.
magazines.
The,
That would
the
be
talent that is
yeah.
on there is so unbelievably great. And you really don't appreciate this stuff until you're able to look back on it in hindsight.
What
No.
what I don't, and I'm not sure, but what it looks like to me is like if you say you like if you're hired by Marvel to do a Marvel book or DC, they like to put you through classes so you know how to do in that style.
Yeah.
But with Mad, it looked like just you do you. So you didn't have a clear. The artists each had their own style, and it gave it its own feel to it. But each one was different. It wasn't a covering aesthetic.
Yeah,
I truly think that was part of Gaines' genius, is that he was able to go out and find accomplished masters like that.
Yeah.
Those EC books and even Mad later was done not primarily to entertain an audience, but it was the kind of comics that Gaines wanted to read.
I actually felt that Marvel art wise about 10 years ago was quite a broad church. It seemed to have lots of different styles going on.
It got more stagnant during the Gemmis period, I think. Yeah,
and then,
but there was a lot of really great artists during that era.
And then sort of like about 5 years ago, it started funneling itself into everything looking the same again. Which I think is a great pity because it's nice to have. I like the idea of having different art styles on different books.
Yeah.
Because it has a different feel to the character. But then I like the idea of art teams staying on a book for a while, which doesn't seem to be a very popular thing at the moment. So
absolutely.
Well, if you look at the Jim Lee era, when they went into Marvel and they told everybody to draw like Jim Lee, like Herb Trimp. Can you imagine if Herb Trimp had just the freedom to do what he wanted to do? Where it would
I got taken on. I got put on the Marvel pencilers list because I tried to draw like Jim Lee.
Well,
I got accepted by the new talent manager because of that. I'm glad I didn't get anywhere and didn't get any work at that time because I wouldn't have been able to keep it up.
Right. I mean, can you imagine? I remember them. I think Bocciolo was the same way too. Chris Bocciolo. They came in at that same time. Oh, we want you to draw like, Jim Lee, and thank goodness I don't think that at that era lasted very long.
No, it didn't.
But,
no, they came to their senses. Yeah.
Well,
there's no point in if everybody's Jim Lee, then Jim Lee isn't special anymore.
Right.
That kind of editorial thinking, though, is pretty universal because they want to go with the saleable style.
It's fair enough.
Story.
And if you actually look at somebody like Andy Kubert or who's the guy that did The Dark? The guy that's
Mark
doing
Silvestri.
Mark Silvestri.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Andy Kubert, Mark Silvestri, and there was one other as well. And they were all. If you I've forgotten his name. God, he's a fantastic artist. I'm so crap at names. And they all did stints. They all did stints on the X-Men after Jim Lee, and they had kind of similar aspects to the way that they drew. And then they all branched off in their own way. And now they don't look like Jim anymore. They've got their own feel. Okay. And you can pick those artists out and say they found their way. Do you know what I mean? They are what they are. But just trying to emulate Jim Lee's or trying to emulate any artist, emulate them, not inspired by them. Okay. But emulate them. It ain't going to get you very far. Because eventually people are just going to go, well, I'll just buy the original. I'll just buy the person that you're trying to copy.
Right.
Okay. Because they'll feel like they've got the book and it's like, oh, this looks a bit like Mike Mignola. But it isn't, is it?
Yeah.
And you go back and you look at you go back and look at the work of Keith Giffen when he first broke in. Because Romita was art director at the time, told Keith that he needed to draw more like Jack Kirby.
Right.
And so you look at he did a Killraven fill in. He did Defenders for 3 or 4 issues, and it's incredibly Kirby. just all over. And after a while, he got called in the office, and they said, "Kid, we love your stuff, but dude, you draw too much like Jack Kirby."
You told me to do this. Yeah, that's right. It's
Yeah.
important to just to try and be yourself.
Mhm.
There's no doubt that we're all inspired by different artists, and that does shape the way that we draw. But it shouldn't. It should be a guide, not a target. Do you know what I mean? It should,
Right.
So true.
To inform you the way that you draw, rather than define the way that you draw.
Right.
I was listening to somebody who'd found a great artist, maybe an Italian artist, whatever. But every time he talked to the guy, he had like a different favorite artist. And I said, good, that's what you want. Because then that means that his style's not going to be this one person's style.
Yeah.
He's going to be jumping all over the place. And the whole favorite thing is really... you can ask me who my favorite artist is this week, and I'll find somebody new next week.
Yeah, that's right. You should. Yeah. I mean, I have a couple of core people, but there are a broad group of artists, all quite different from each other, that inspire me. That I look at and go, I just love the way that works. You know, the way that they lay the stuff down. So yeah, it's good to have a broad spectrum of inspiration. Very much so.
Yes.
Looking back at the chat, greetings, sinners. I'll catch up with you when I can. See the wonderful stuff you're sharing. I've been loving the shows. Keep rocking. Have a great day. That's one of the problems with doing shows like this, but it's also one of the advantages of doing it and being able to show it instead of a straight up audio podcast where we're just talking about it. But yeah, Marv, thanks a lot.
You can archive this and you go, okay, you want to look at Wally Wood and what somebody has to say about Wally Wood, because there's not many people touching on that. There's not many people touching on Alex Toth or John Buscema and stuff. You could go back and say, you can go back and look at that, and you can see. Yeah, it helps other people, to see other people see something.
That's one of the reasons I don't watch cartoonist kayfabe while I'm working, is because I don't get any work done.
No, you can't
sit there and you're looking at the screen, and
you have to queue those shows up and watch them later.
Yeah,
which is why I think it would be important, if we're going to do these books, it'd be important to get the artist's name in the title so that people can search on it and see what we're doing. Because I mean, what we just looked through there's not many people doing that.
Well, and again, I didn't.
Wood,
I didn't know we were going to do Wood until the last minute. I was ready to go for Toth because that's
let's
show for another time.
Yeah, let's organize it. Let's do a schedule.
Next week will be Steranko.
Next week we got Steranko. So
I have to get that book back to Jason Moore.
So that's what gets people. Yeah, Glenn, your fault.
This is Glenn's fault.
That's what we need to do. Is then if we decide the week before and say, okay, well, what books have we got that we can display on a rostrum camera and interrogate in the way that we interrogated Wood this week, in the way that we interrogated last week. What have we got? Because between us all, I'm sure we've got quite a lot. Mm-hmm. And just pick those books down and, pick one of the books and say, right, well, we're going to do that book next week. So next week, we're going to do Steranko, okay? Yeah. Which I am thoroughly looking forward to, because I have
because that's could have easily been 2 or 3 shows.
Yeah. I have that book, just a smaller version of it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm really looking forward to seeing this big giant book you've got. Okay, but I have another big John Buscema book that we could look at. I also have a massive Brian Bolland book, which will be worth looking at.
Definitely be.
Yeah, and I know that you guys have others, and I've got quite a lot. I've got a nice remitter IDW art stand one as well, Spider-Man one, and we can just decide at the end of one show which book we're going to do next week.
Yeah, well, it's Steranko next week, so Steranko will be in the title.
Stick it in the title, and I think you're going to get people come and search the video out more. Yeah. I think you're going to get more views because people will be looking for particular artists' art, and
it'll also keep me from doing a part 3 or a part 4 or whatever. It'll just be Steranko.
Steranko this week, Steranko, and then we can do
Comics by Night Steranko with a big exclamation point.
Yeah. Comics, and then in like 6 months. 6 months' time, it'll be Comics by Night Steranko revisited. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's great about this kind of stuff is you can come back if you just did the Mad magazine, and you can focus on one particular artist, you can go look through some Mad magazines and have a plethora.
Yeah.
Well, I got given a box by a retailer up in Saginaw who said, I don't know who I'm going to be able to move these to except for you. Do you want them? And I'm like, yeah, I'll take them. And he goes, well, they are a little smelly.
I don't care.
And he gave them to me. Yeah, Russ is laughing.
That's
and
nothing.
it had, you opened that box and you had that attic smell. I had that that must smell down here for weeks after I brought it. They've been out in the open air now, but they probably still have that beautiful, wonderful smell.
Even this, I got this last week.
Yeah.
Last week,
yeah.
Even this, in its essentials form, it's got a bit of a nip to it.
It's got that's true newsprint ink right there. Yeah,
newsprint and a little, and the paper's a bit yellow where it's gotten old. It's like this is just.
But I'll tell you, you showing that book off made me look up on Amazon because they have a Night Force has been collected that DC did, and I've never sat down. I've read a couple of them, but I never sat down and read the whole series. So I'm like, I got to get that book. That's Wolfman and Colin.
Yeah. eBay had a lot of essentials on there too, and if the people selling them have 100% sell rate, you can get some good stuff over there.
Yeah. Bristolian, glad you've been watching. All right, me babbers. He says.
All right, me babbers.
Then hey Marv, hey Sin Killer. He says there's a lot of people that still believe comics are the lesser medium. A lot of people still look at comics as being for kids. That was part of the problem that got EC into trouble. Is because Gaines was trying to evolve the art form into a regular art form for everyone to read, and did books specifically that he wanted to read for adults. That's why you got the hardcore horror stuff. That's why you got the phenomenal science fiction work. That's why you got the humor work the way that it did.
People are fools.
He wasn't considering, I'm writing for a 10-year-old. It's like, this is freaking funny. We need to print this. That's the way he was thinking.
Well, but you can't look at that stuff and go, if you really pay attention to that stuff, you can't look at it and go, it's just that's high art, honestly.
High art. Yeah. And we were really spoiled, or I was really spoiled growing up, 70s and 80s era, especially during the 80s, because there was so much prime cinematic material for them to parody that it's and so many great people were working at Mad. It was very prestigious at that point. If you were lucky to get anything printed inside, you were one of the gang of idiots, and that made you a great cartoonist. So I love this series you're doing. Some amazing stuff I've seen, but also Discovery, amazing new stuff. Yep. That's so true. Steranko part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. We could do that too. Though I don't know if we could quite get up to 10. I'd have to think about it. X-Men.
Steranko is like
Captain America.
I would have to say that Steranko, and this is probably a popular thought process, Steranko has probably been the biggest hitter in comics ever. He has made the biggest splash with the least amount of work.
And he's a true showman too, so he knew when to walk,
Yeah.
But we could do an entire, literally, if I had a copy of it, we could do an entire show just on the Chandler book, because it's so noirish and it's so well done. But even though it's illustration with prose around it, it's still a beautiful.
But pound for pound,
art.
He's the hardest hitter in comics ever.
Oh yeah,
because he came in, he knocked everybody out, and then left. And that was just wow. We're still talking about him as genius. We're talking about Steranko in the same way we talk about Buscema and Jack Kirby, I think.
But the amount of work he did is literally a scratch compared to the volume that these other artists have done.
Okay, Jack is a bit more formulative than him. He's further back. Okay, but you can still see this range of artists from the Silver Age through into the Bronze Age. That core of artists, which are effectively the people that made the modern comic book, American comic book industry, and then they were added to by the British invasion, late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
And that core of artists, all the way back to Jack, right the way through into Gibbons. Okay, that core of artists are the people that made the industry we love at the moment. So Steranko for me he's the biggest hitter. Just in and out. Just fantastic.
It's that one hit album and then
then
it's
nothing.
all going to this gold, and then nothing. But you don't need to because you know who it is. Yeah,
you know exactly. There is no best of Steranko. Just
right.
Well,
everything is
Steranko's background is on the stage, and he knows, and he knew when to exit and when to step back and go. Here you go, folks. See ya. Always leave them wanting more. There you go.
Layers.
Very Snagglepuss. I can see that. Exit stage left even.
But again, folks, you get a chance to dig up those old EC volumes, those bound volumes. You see them at shows, you see them online. Definitely snatch them up. I'm telling you, more than worth the price of admission, no matter what the price is. You end up paying $600 to $1,000 for a boxed volume set of the EC books that are gargantuan. I literally have the Haunt of Fear holding down my freezer. I have the Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror used as in a bookcase to keep a shelf up and level. And most of the bound volume sets I have are at the end of the bookcases used as bookends in order to keep the other books flattened together. But well worth the cost. Afternoons, evenings of just staring at phenomenal, masterful art. Just go in and get it. We're going to cover more of that stuff. Let us know what you want to see out there, and we'll do our best to find that. If we don't have it, we can get it or get somebody to loan it to us so that we can go over it as well. We love doing it. We love doing this for you. So let us know in the comments what you want to see. We'll do our best to get that for you. Russ, tell folks how they can find you.
Right. You can find me at russleach.com, where you can see art like this.
Hang on.
Batman.
Hang on. Hold that up just a second. There we are. Look at that.
There's a Batman page.
That harsh lighting, just like Wallywood. Look at that.
There's a bit of harsh lighting in there. Yeah. That's what I've been
it's beautiful.
monkeying around at while we've been talking. So you can find me at russleach.com. You can find me in the pages of Batman magazine in the UK and Europe currently. You can find Only Death Can Save Us second issue over at Indiegogo.com, where you can also pick up the original version of book one. But if you want to get it from Amazon and get free delivery, you can go and get the New Haven version of Only Death Can Save Us book one, which will be on sale from the 30th of November. That's its release date. It's on pre-sale now. Everything else, all the social medias, I have an email list if you want to sign up to, because that will be getting going again real soon as the second book comes to fruition. You can find all of that and all the links over at russleach.com.
Is the Only Death Can Save Us going to be available internationally?
On Amazon. Yeah, it is. It's in Books A Million.
Well, for that.
There you go. It's in Books A Million. It's at Walmart. I'm in Walmart. There you go.
Are you really?
Wow.
Good for you. That's awesome.
Dude.
That's awesome. See, let folks know where they can find you.
Of course, you can always find me on the Linktree /C Michael Lanning. It's got my Facebook, the Twitter, as long as for who knows how long. Then you have my portfolio over there as well. Not to mention, the next time you'll see me is Saturday on Sketchy Saturday. We'll be. Who knows what we'll discuss over there with John Silvestri, Rodney Fike, and Marv V, and Mike Jimmy. Then, of course, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on the IndieCommontsNetwork.com. Dispatches from Outside the Box. Yeah, that's pretty. Right. Oh, also, I have a 5-page story that I drew in Apothic Press's Electric, which is on Kickstarter to get notified right now. So check that out. And Calico Shard from Arrow Comics.
Yes, yeah. Calico Shard. You can find Calico Shard. You can find the first chapter of Only Death Can Save Us still over on the Rift Writers Indiegogo campaign, which is on demand. 8 great Arrow comics for $50 and plus shipping, and all of them are phenomenal. I've got I'm ordering more Calicos and Paragons today. That campaign will be fulfilled in February. We're looking forward to getting those books out to you and into your hands. I just got contacted from Great Lakes Comic Con down at the Macomb College in February. I'll be there. Looking forward to that. He's supposed to send me a card so that we can help promote his show for there. And then I'm going to be throwing a show at the end of April here in Flint that I'm looking forward to. I still have to cement the date, but haven't been able to get over to the market yet to make sure that date was secure yet. As soon as that is, we'll be telling folks about that as well. You can find me next, and probably Russ as well, a Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Sunday Funnies. I'm not sure what we'll talk about this week, but we'll find something to talk about, or the conversation will just wander as usual. And who knows what we'll talk about, but tune in then. Sunday Funnies we dedicate to the comics that we love, the comics that inspire us. We're going to save Comics by Night to do the kayfabe thing and to go through books individually to point out the great artists that you've seen. But the great comics in general, you're going to find over on Sunday Funnies. That's Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I also do a show for right now called the Zimcast. It's on Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. And that might be changing soon. I'm not sure. But there's so many people that are broadcasting on Wednesdays now. We need to do something unique and different for that. But other than that, you'll find all of that over at the Indie Comics Network, indiecomicsnetwork.com, Indie Comics Network over at the YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed over at YouTube, even if you don't watch us on YouTube, please go over to YouTube, sign up, and subscribe to the Indie Comics Network so that we can bump our subscriber rates up. We're that close, folks. We're going to get there real quick. And look at the variety of shows that are over there as well. We'll have a little bump for that as we go out the door. Deeply appreciate everybody watching, everybody that will be watching. We love doing this stuff for you. Again, let us know if there's anybody else that we can cover for you. We will happily do our best to do that for you. Go and check out your local retailer and spend a couple of hours there. Go through their magazine boxes, their back issue boxes. You never know what you're going to find there, especially when it comes to unusual comics. We'll do an episode of that here real soon. Oddball Independence, maybe we'll do that on Sunday Funnies.
Yeah, there you go.
Just to be cool. There we are. But anyway, no matter where you go, give me a second.
I got it.
Can you go ahead and take that? I'm going to run some bumps and then we'll be on our way, folks. Desperately appreciate you all for watching again. See you soon. Indie Comics Network, indiecomicsnetwork.com, Black Belt. comicbookblackbelt.com. Look for more Arrow comics coming soon. We got a great year. We're lining up for you next year. A lot of great stuff, a lot of new stuff. And just take care, everybody. We're here for you. I've been your host, Randy Zimmerman. I'm a longtime alternative and independent comics creator. Been doing this for many decades. Love podcasting. Love talking to you about comics. Hope you enjoyed yourself as much as we enjoyed bringing this to you. We'll see you soon.
That's Tanya.
Take care, everyone.
The views and opinions expressed within the video content found on the Indie Comics Network are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Indie Comics Network or its sponsors. Have a question or comment for us to address on the show? Have a topic you want us to talk about? Email us at indiecomicsnetwork@gmail.com.
It is difficult to write these words, but I must for my own sake. I have done, seen, and been part of many things in my life.
When your timeline reaches its Armageddon, what's a kid to do?
I'm not a...
Snag the keys to your mom's experimental ship, of course.
That's not quite how it happened.
Drift aimlessly in the rift between dimensions, trying to figure out how to operate it.
Now hold on a sec.
pick up a few hitchhikers,
Hi!
Hello.
and maybe solve a disturbing mystery that could lead to the destruction of reality itself.
You know, if this time.
There's always time.
I'm not so sure about that.
Get in on the adventure with the Rift Riders on Indiegogo.
Now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready?
Ready!
What was that? This is not a charade. We need total concentration. Now, once again, this time with theory.